Hello, my name is Jonathan Brannon, and I want to speak to you all tonight about great public spaces. Last year I've had the opportunity to go to Argentina and Buenos Aires. I've long been interested in public spaces and their direct link to the health of the communities they serve. Public spaces consist of everything from streets, plazas, markets, and courtyards, to name a few. They're defined by life and activities that they encourage, as well as how they were defined architecturally. Last year I set out a short while to live in Argentina, and I was inspired by a friend, a longtime colleague, to go to Buenos Aires. I stayed downtown in Buenos Aires. Actually, that last photo was the largest intersection, second largest in the world. It's composed of basically densely packed neighborhoods, diverse of character, unique, and actually very well interconnected. Buenos Aires, first established in the 1500s on the Atlantic Ocean. It's probably one of the most European cities I've visited in North America. The first thing that stood out to me in Buenos Aires was the architecture. The architectural character, densely arranged buildings, mid-rise mainly, mostly from the turn of the last century. Actually, I'd say one of the high points when we had structural advances combined still with civic detail, pedestrian detail, art, and beauty. These are some examples of some of the other quirks. Buenos Aires actually, in addition to that, has embraced modernism as well as adaptive reuse, and historic preservation is actually still active, as a lot of these buildings are still inhabited and loved. Also with the streets, as the great buildings can be, the design hierarchy of the streets support the life that the buildings inhabit. And these are some of the great examples of some of the Times Square type streets there for the theater district, and also the open street markets. This right here is the market of San Telmo, which ran about 2 miles along a small cobbled street every Sunday. These kind of ran like clockwork, and they are at the scale, or if not larger, than our St. James Art Fair. So it was rather impressive, and it's always discovering new ones. In addition to the streets, we have a large, basically civic events, everything from protests to celebrations, concerts, and it's actually, I just go out and find about a new one every other day, and including their football, which was actually very humbling. But also, too, what I've really enjoyed was their dedication towards bicycle culture and the multimodal transportation options. The ciclovia was actually, this was from my window looking from the balcony, was about 30 minutes of one of the largest streets I've seen closed down for bicycle traffic. In addition to that, I've run into a lot of art, murals, graffiti, and it's a very self-expressed place. Everything from cultural, historical, to political propaganda, to just quirk and beauty. In addition, also, there's some of my watercolors, which inspired me. But in addition to there's a nighttime presence in Buenos Aires that I've found out that is pretty much, I haven't found out that they sleep ever. So I go to bed, they're still up. I wake up, they're up again. You know, and of course, you try to go to dinner at 7:30 at night, and you can't get in because they're not open yet. This is Barcelona, Spain. Again, a densely arranged city from back in Roman times that's actually settled around, some distinct, well-integrated neighborhoods. And these are some of the characters of those neighborhoods. As well, too, aside from the rich Mediterranean culture, the great streets conducive to public nightlife and commerce, Barcelona displays a heavy emphasis on beauty and unique design. Most notably are the buildings by architect Antonio Gaudí, and who produced at the high point of Barcelona's development around the turn of the century. Here is the Sagrada Familia, which actually, being a cathedral, still in construction actually, even after Gaudí's death, is actually not really considered normally public space, but actually it is the cultural identity of the city, and actually I think of the country. It is well loved, and it's still under construction until the 100th anniversary of his death. This is La Rambla, which is a pedestrian street that goes all the way from the heart of Barcelona down to the Mediterranean. It is a thoroughfare promenade with markets, stalls, vendors, restaurants, cafe seating, both continuous pedestrian traffic and car traffic. In addition to that, the other great streets that kind of form the network of a well-integrated hierarchy of different modes of transportation. And as well, too, on the far bottom, ways of getting cars out of the way, in addition to providing places for pedestrians to walk in the same area that cars are, and a bicycle culture up in the top right. This is the market at the Boqueira, and is a Victorian kind of train shed structure that has virtually everything from whole foods to prepared food from all ethnicities, and it occupies what felt like an acre. And this was felt like a well-kept secret right around the corner. In addition to that, also, as exploring the city is rewarding for the squares, public squares, spaces that are just off the beaten path of all different scales and of all different programs. And rarely do I see an arcade without an outdoor cafe and an excuse to sit down and have a coffee or a beer. And also, too, the diorama that people are on display with, the commerce, basically the creative storefronts continually fascinated me. As such a small scale at high creativity, the materiality, the uses, and as well, too, up in the top, my favorite second-story dining, which is a real key indicator of a vibrant culture. And as well, too, I just want to finish up with a guy I used to work with for about the past 10 years said, anybody can be a visionary. You just need a plane ticket and a camera. And I believe it's a good start to the creative process. Experiencing and observing what works in other cultures is a good way to start the creative process and a conversation on what we can value in our own community about what is unique and seek ways to continue a humane, economically sustainable growth for the future.